My biggest issue is that I hear more and more women saying, I don't need a man, I want a man. But you don't ever hear a man say, I don't need a woman, but I want a woman. Yeah. A man will 100% say, I need a woman. Now he'll be like, whenever he's going through something, he'll be like, nah, I'm not doing this thing or whatever. But you don't really hear men say that. You hear women say that, I don't need a man, I want a man. And then when we say, okay, well, what about for protection? Well, I got a pew pew, or I got all these other ways that they use to say that they can make up, even as far as sexually. Like they got toys. They're like, listen, I got this. I'll do this on my own instead.
Do career women respect good men or just use them for stability?
I don't see that there's a need for a career woman who's a dedicated career woman to use a man for stability, as she's a career woman and can provide for herself. Now, could I see a woman who's a career woman marrying a man for specific benefits of climbing a ladder or merging certain business ventures and having access to specific assets? Yes, possibly. But do I see her leaning on him specifically to provide for herself? No, I don't.
I'm gonna say I agree with Kiana on this one. I definitely, because if she's already established and she's doing her own thing, I don't necessarily look at it for her. She needs him for stability. I would definitely just say that, the respect aspect of it. I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. But I'll get into it a little later though. I'll let y'all go ahead.
It's interesting how you pose the question. That's why I was trying to think how to tackle it and approach it, directly. You said, does she respect the good man? And what I found is that I don't believe most career women, driven women, ambitious women, I think respect is very subjective. And typically they tend to only be able to respect what they believe is value set based on usually their own achievements, their own ability to digest what maybe they have built. So almost reflective. That's why I hesitated. I'm like, how do we answer this one? Because a couple of people said about stability. Sure. I mean, if you think that your career brings you stability, you think your job brings you stability, I'd argue you're wrong. But yeah, that's why I hesitated, JR. But that's what I'll say right now. I'm going to take Courtney's approach and we'll get into it further moving forward.
I think the question that came to my mind was, it depends on what stability they're looking for. So I agree with Kiana, they wouldn't need a man for financial stability. But there are other areas that I would consider stability, like emotional stability, things like that a relationship is also built on and needed. So I think defining what that stability is for that individual person would make a difference.
Is I don't need a man confidence or trauma?
Trauma.
Why is that, in your opinion?
I believe that it's trauma because if someone is in a healthy state of mind, being able to commingle and be in a healthy relationship with another individual wouldn't be something that they absolutely see valueless. We know that men and women, we live together in this matrix on this planet, and it fundamentally is and structurally is necessary for us to work together. So if you're saying that I don't need a man, I mean, you're negating the need for men in so many spaces that we clearly in society need men for, not just relationships, but we're looking at infrastructure, all sorts of avenues. So to say that you don't need a man, I think is guised as confidence, but really is the lack thereof.
I think there's a difference. There's a difference between what she's saying, trauma-filled, the I don't need a man, versus saying the I don't need a man to be fulfilled. Those are two different things. I think all people should be able to be fulfilled without having a romantic relationship per se. You don't have to be fulfilled by being in a romantic relationship. So if we're only building it or building it around saying, I don't need a man, and you're referring to other things outside of yes, we would need a man to lift heavy things, or need a man to, like, if you do want a relationship, things like that. But the idea is, I think some women are saying, I don't need a man to be fulfilled. If I have the option of having a relationship, yes, I would be open to that. But that is not the only thing that I'm striving for, because I'm fulfilled whether I have that romantic relationship with a man versus having a platonic relationship with a man. So that's kind of the way that I looked at it as well.
So I think that we have to be honest about the confidence one. I think it's really just trauma that was forced into confidence, because a lot of women who are sitting there confidently that they don't have to need a man is because they were forced into a situation to where they had to prepare themselves to fulfill themselves to be without a man. I think we need to stop beating around the bush and promoting like, oh, I'm, this big bad person when you're an adult. We're all adulting. It's called self-sufficiency. And if you can take care of yourself, like, we're not giving out participation trophies. I think that's dumb for us to do as a society to women. And we only do it to women because we don't do it to men. As a man, as men are expected to get a good job, be able to provide for a family, all these other things. And then when he's not able to do those things, men are completely shamed. Like, what kind of a man are you? All kinds of things. So like societal wise, with the judicial system, in many different ways, like, men are cut down. But if a woman is self-sufficient and adulting, oh, well, you're this confident person, rah-rahing. I think we need to stop doing that as a whole in society. And it comes around trauma. At the end of the day, like, I think we need to stop giving out participation trophies and stop saying, hey, a good job because you can pay your rent, and you bought a car, congratulations. Like that, we need to stop doing that.
No, I was just gonna say, in my experience talking to ladies, whether they had been someone I was dating at the time or just even female friends, like anyone that has said that, when I dig a little bit deeper and ask why, why do you feel that way? It's usually something related to an experience they had with somebody. I might ask about a past relationship or somebody they may have been married to. And now, or even something that they've seen, between their own parents. Um, a lady might have seen her mom go through a certain amount of trauma or something in her marriage. And so now she's developed this idea or this gate, like, okay, well, I don't need that. I don't need a man. I'm okay. I can do everything that you can do. And so that's generally in my experience, that's what I see and what I hear from most of the women that I've dug a little bit deeper with.
Go ahead, Kiana.
I think that's reasonably consistent. Especially when you get onto social media and you don't hear, I need a man, I don't need a man, I want a man. You don't hear that statement as often as you hear, I just don't need a man. So those statements are two different statements. I don't need a man, I believe, is from trauma, strictly because you can accept the need for a man in a healthy manner. And yes, you may not need him to fulfill you completely, but you need a man to have a husband. If you want to have a husband and that's something you're seeking out, then yes, you need a man to do that, do you not? So it's how it's framed. And more often than not, I hear women saying, because this happened to me, or because this happened to my friend or my mother, that I don't need a man because I don't want to be in that same situation, or I don't want to experience that again. It's very rare that I hear the, I don't need a man, but I want a man.
Yes, I think it comes from the boogeyman complex. Like you just said, they have this idea of, they see bad relationships happen, then they don't want to be in that same relationship, whatever the case may be. And so that's when they have to reflect back to this little trauma response of, I don't need a man, I want a man. It's like, no. And then on top of that as well, they have this mindset and thought process thinking that you have to be 100% dependent upon this man. You're just this hopeless being when you should be interdependent of each other. So I think that's an issue.
My biggest issue is that I hear more and more women saying, I don't need a man, I want a man. But you don't ever hear a man say, I don't need a woman, but I want a woman. Yep. A man will 100% say, I need a woman. Now he'll be like, whenever he's going through something, he'll be like, nah, I'm not doing this thing or whatever. But you don't really hear men say that. You hear women say that. I don't need a man, I want a man. And then when we say, okay, well, what about for protection? Well, I got a pew pew, you know, or I got all these other ways that they use to say that they can make up, even as far as sexually. Like they got toys. They're like, listen, I got this. I'll do this on my own instead. And we're not being completely honest when we're sitting here saying that it's majority of women that are sitting here going round and round in circles, beating around the bush. And I personally believe that it's a women's ego in today's society. Women have such a high ego that is nothing compared to a man's pride, that are minimizing the value of men in today's society, and it's being altered, and if not replaced, with other things outwardly, from toys to even like careers. We can even go as far as like, you know, government assistance, things like that. And it's all to just substitute the value of a man in a relationship. And it's much easier to meet at the whim of like a toy that you don't have to be responsible for it. You know, the government, you just have to like sign up for it. Maybe they might come back around and check on you, you know, every 3, 6, or 9 months or whatever. Yeah, and then it's just a way for a woman to receive. That's why I believe that it's just a woman's ego.